know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Foundations of Glass. Robert Thorne gripped the construction site blueprints in his calloused hands, scanning the measurements. At 32, his broad shoulders and sturdy frame filled out his work shirt differently than when he'd first started in construction. The site buzzed with activity around him as workers poured concrete foundations for what would become Seattle's newest corporate headquarters. "Hey boss, the concrete truck's running late again," Michael Reeves called out, jogging over with his signature military bearing still evident in his stance. The former Marine's face was lined with concern. "Want me to light a fire under their ass?" Robert folded the blueprints with deliberate care. "No need for that, Mike. Push back the pour to tomorrow morning. I've got class tonight anyway." "Another night of architectural theory?" Michael's weathered face broke into a knowing grin. "Man, between work, those classes, and keeping the crews in line, I don't know how you do it. Someone's got to show these fancy architects how their designs actually work in the real world," Robert replied, his voice carrying the weight of experience. He checked his watch, 5:30 p.m. Just enough time to clean up before his evening class. Michael's expression shifted to something more serious. "Speaking of showing up the fancy folks, your mother called the site office again. Third time this week." Robert's jaw tightened. Patricia Thorne's voice still echoed in his head from their last conversation. "Really, Robert? Night classes? Your father was already a senior executive at your age. He'd be so disappointed to see you playing in the dirt all day." "What did she want this time?" "Same old song and dance. Wanted to know if you'd reconsidered that country club membership she offered to pay for." Michael shook his head. "Said something about networking with the right kind of people." Robert's laugh was sharp and humorless. "The right kind of people. Yeah, that sounds like her." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Adriana's sleek Mercedes at the site entrance. His wife stepped out, her designer outfit and perfectly styled hair a stark contrast to the muddy construction site. Several workers paused their tasks, stealing glances at her model-like figure. "Robert, darling." Adriana's voice carried across the site as she navigated between equipment with practiced ease, her high heels somehow avoiding every puddle. "I brought you a change of clothes for dinner tonight." Michael excused himself with a knowing nod as Adriana reached them. She handed Robert a garment bag from an expensive men's boutique. "Mom insisted," she explained, noting his expression. "She's arranged dinner with the Hendersons." "You remember James Henderson, Dad's golf partner? His firm is looking for project managers for their commercial development division." Robert's shoulders tensed. "I have class tonight, Adriana. We discussed this. But darling, this is such an opportunity. You could finally move up to management, away from all this." She gestured vaguely at the construction site, her designer bracelet catching the light. "All this what?" Robert's voice carried an edge. "The honest work that paid for that bracelet you're wearing? The skills that let me rebuild your parents' vacation house after that storm?" Adriana's perfect features arranged themselves into a practiced pout. "You know that's not what I meant. I just want what's best for you. For us. What's best for me is finishing my degree. I don't need your father's connections or my mother's social climbing." Robert handed the garment bag back. "Send my regrets to the Hendersons. And tell Mom to stop calling the site office. Your mother just wants you to reach your potential," Adriana protested. "She says you've been letting yourself go lately, and I have to agree. When was the last time you went to the gym?" Robert's response was cut off by his phone alarm. "I need to clean up for class. We can discuss this later." As he walked away, he heard Adriana's manicured nails tapping on her phone screen, no doubt messaging his mother about his latest disappointment. The site office's basic shower facility wasn't fancy, but it got the job done. As Robert changed into clean clothes for his evening class, his phone buzzed with a message from his sister Rebecca. "Big bro, heads up. Mom's on the warpath about tonight's dinner. Says she's going to drop by your place later. Want me to run interference?" Robert typed back, "Don't worry about it, Bex. You've got enough on your plate with the divorce. I can handle Mom." Rebecca's response was quick. "You shouldn't have to handle her alone. That's what little sisters are for." The message brought a rare smile to his face. Rebecca had always been his strongest ally, especially when it came to their mother's attempts to reshape him into their father's image. Later that evening, as Robert sat in his architectural theory class, Amanda Chin's lecture on structural integrity seemed particularly relevant. The strongest buildings, she explained, gesturing to the projected diagrams, aren't the ones that never move. They're the ones that can bend without breaking. Robert's notes were meticulous, his drawings precise. Amanda paused by his desk during the practical exercise. Your understanding of load-bearing realities is impressive, Robert, she commented, examining his work. Most of my students get lost in theory, but you see how it applies in the real world. 15 years of construction experience helps, he replied, adding detailed notes about stress points. Have you considered applying for the advanced program? With your practical experience and theoretical understanding, you could. A buzz from his phone interrupted them. 3 missed calls from his mother, 5 from Adriana, and a text from Michael. Hey boss, heads up. Your mother's at your house. Adriana called me looking for you. Something about important dinner guests? Robert's grip on his pencil tightened until his knuckles whitened. Another buzz, a message from his mother. Your father would never have embarrassed me like this. The Hendersons are waiting. If you want to throw away opportunities to play student and roll in the mud, fine. But don't drag Adriana down with you. Amanda noticed his tension. Everything all right? Family stuff, he replied shortly, returning to his notes with forced focus. Sometimes the most important structural element isn't the strongest beam, Amanda offered quietly, but knowing which supports to rely on. The class ended at 9:30 p.m. Robert's phone showed 17 missed calls and a dozen messages. As he walked to his truck, a final message came through from Rebecca. Mom's really done it this time, Rob. She invited that photographer, Xavier, to fill your place at dinner. You know, the one who's been shooting Adriana's property listings? Said something about showing you what real ambition looks like. Call me. Robert sat in his truck for a long moment, staring at the message. Then he started the engine and headed home, his mother's words echoing in his mind. Your father would never have embarrassed me like this. The next message came from Jennifer Hayes, Adriana's assistant. Mr. Thorne, I think there's something you should know. But he didn't read the rest. The construction site manager's hands gripped the steering wheel with the same strength that had earned him respect from his crews. His father might never have embarrassed Patricia Thorne, but Robert was starting to wonder if that had been a strength or a weakness. Michael's words from earlier that day came back to him. You can't build on a bad foundation, boss. Sometimes you've got to tear it all down and start over. As Robert drove home through Seattle's streets, he didn't know it yet, but starting over was exactly what fate had in store for him. Chapter 2. Whispers and Wounds. The first signs of trouble appeared on a Tuesday morning at the construction site. Robert was reviewing safety protocols with a new crew when he noticed Michael's expression change. His friend's military training usually kept his emotions in check, but something on his phone had caused a visible reaction. Everything okay, Mike? Robert asked as the crew dispersed to their stations. Michael hesitated, an unusual occurrence for the former Marine. You seen the new promotional photos for your wife's luxury listings? Robert shook his head, focusing on the safety checklist in his hands. Been too busy with the Anderson project deadline. Maybe you should take a look, Michael suggested, his tone carefully neutral. He held out his phone, open to Adriana's professional Instagram page. The photos were professional, artistic even. Adriana posed in front of various luxury properties, but it was the photographer's watermark that caught Robert's attention. Xavier Sterling Photography. The same name appeared in several comments, accompanied by flame emojis and suggestive remarks. Mom's new favorite photographer, Robert muttered, handing the phone back. She won't shut up about how he used to be a fitness model. Speaking of your mother, Michael began, then stopped as Robert's phone rang. Patricia Thorne's number flashed on the screen. Robert declined the call, but a text followed immediately. Darling, Xavier's photos of Adriana are incredible, aren't they? Such chemistry between photographer and subject. Reminds me of when you were still in shape during your football days. Remember when you used to make an effort? Robert's jaw clenched. Before he could respond, another message arrived. I've arranged for Xavier to shoot a family portrait next week. God knows we need updated photos. The ones from your wedding are so outdated now that you've... Well, boss, Michael interrupted. The concrete's arriving for the foundation pour. Want to supervise? Robert welcomed the distraction, shoving his phone into his pocket. As they walked to the pour site, Michael spoke quietly. Jennifer Hayes came by the site yesterday while you were at class. Said she needed to talk to you about something important. Adriana's assistant? What did she want? Wouldn't say exactly. Seemed nervous. Said she'd try to catch you after your night class. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the concrete trucks. Robert threw himself into work, directing the pour with practiced expertise. Physical labor had always been his refuge from his mother's criticism. Later that afternoon, Jennifer Hayes appeared at the site office. The usually confident assistant looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her tablet. "Mr. Thorne, do you have a minute?" Robert gestured to a chair. "What's on your mind, Jennifer?" She sat but didn't meet his eyes. "It's about Mrs. Thorne, your mother, and some of the things she's been saying at the agency." "Mom's always saying things," Robert replied, his tone neutral. "It's her favorite hobby." "This is different," Jennifer insisted. "She's been showing everyone these unflattering photos of you, comparing them to pictures of Xavier, making comments about how Adriana deserves." She trailed off. "Deserves what?" "Someone more successful. Like your father was." Jennifer's words came out in a rush. "And she's been arranging these private property viewings with Xavier, but the properties aren't even listed yet, and..." Robert's phone buzzed again. Another message from his mother. "Darling, Adriana looked absolutely radiant at today's shoot. Xavier really knows how to capture a woman's best angles." Jennifer noticed his expression. "Mr. Thorne, I should tell you." "Thank you, Jennifer." Robert cut her off, his voice controlled. "I appreciate your concern." She stood, hesitating. "There's more you should know. That will be all." After she left, Michael entered the office. "Want me to do some digging on this Xavier guy? Still got some contacts from my Marine days who..." "No," Robert interrupted. "I don't need intel. I need to focus on work." But focus proved difficult as the weeks passed. Adriana's property viewings stretched later into the evenings. His mother's messages became more frequent, each one laden with subtle digs about his appearance, his career, his failure to live up to his father's legacy. The changes in Adriana were subtle at first. New clothes, more time at the gym, her phone constantly buzzing with notifications, always turned face down when he was near. She started attending networking events that somehow always included Xavier Sterling. One evening, as Robert studied for his architectural exam, Adriana burst into their home office. "Darling, you'll never believe what Xavier suggested." Her excitement was palpable. "He thinks I should start a luxury real estate YouTube channel. Professional production, drone shots of properties, the works." Robert didn't look up from his textbook. "Sounds expensive." "Oh, don't worry about that. Your mother already offered to finance it. She says it's important to invest in my career, since..." She trailed off. "Since what?" "Well, since you're so focused on your little night classes instead of real career advancement." Robert's pencil snapped in his grip. "Little night classes?" "You know what I mean," Adriana backtracked. "It's just... Xavier says personal branding is everything in today's market. And your mother agrees that..." "My mother needs to stay out of our marriage." Robert cut her off, his voice dangerously quiet. "Don't be like that," Adriana pouted. "She's just trying to help. Besides, Xavier's already drawn up a contract for the video series. We're meeting tomorrow night to discuss details. We have dinner plans tomorrow night. Our anniversary, remember?" "Oh." Adriana's hand flew to her mouth. "Darling, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. Can we reschedule? This meeting is really important for my career." Robert stood slowly, gathering his study materials. "Sure. Why not? It's just 8 years of marriage. No big deal." "Don't be passive-aggressive," Adriana snapped. "At least I'm trying to advance my career. When was the last time you even tried to network with the right people?" "The right people," Robert repeated, his father's old phrase coming from his wife's lips. "Right." He left the room without another word, heading to the garage where he kept his tools. Working with his hands had always helped him think clearly. As he organized his toolbox, his phone lit up with a message from Amanda Chin. "Your project proposal for the community center renovation is impressive, Robert. Have you considered submitting it for the Richardson grant?" Before he could reply, another message appeared, this time from his mother. "Darling, Adriana told me about your little snit over the anniversary dinner. Really, Robert, you're being selfish. Xavier's time is valuable, and this video project could really launch her career. Your father would have understood the importance of networking." Robert's grip on his wrench tightened. Another message buzzed through. Jennifer Hayes again. "Mr. Thorne, please, I really need to talk to you. It's important. It's about your mother and Xavier." He closed the message without reading further. In the corner of the garage, his old boxing bag hung unused, covered in dust. He hadn't worked out regularly since taking on the night classes, a fact his mother never failed to mention. Michael's voice echoed in his memory from their conversation earlier that day. "Remember what we learned in the Marines, boss? When something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't." Robert stared at the boxing bag for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone and typed a message to Amanda Chin. "Tell me more about the Richardson grant." His mother's voice nagged in his head. Your father would have understood the importance of networking. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to start networking, just not in the way Patricia Thorne had in mind. Chapter 3. The Shattering. The construction site hummed with activity as Robert finalized the details of their biggest contract yet. The Anderson project would put their company on the map, proving once and for all that success didn't require country club memberships or his father's connections. Final inspections done, Michael reported, pride evident in his voice. "We're ready for the client meeting." Robert nodded, gathering the contract papers. "This is it, Mike. Landing this contract means expansion. New crews, bigger projects. Maybe then your mother will stop comparing you to your old man," Michael added, then winced. "Sorry, boss. That was out of line." "No, you're right," Robert replied, straightening his work jacket. "Mom's going to have to find something else to complain about after this." The client meeting went better than expected. Robert's practical knowledge, combined with his architectural studies, impressed the Anderson Group executives. As they signed the contract, the CEO shook Robert's hand. "Your understanding of both design and practical construction is exactly what we need," he said. "Your father built his reputation on boardroom deals, but you've built yours from the ground up. There's something to be said for that." Robert drove home with the signed contract on his passenger seat, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. The papers represented everything he'd worked for, success on his own terms. He imagined his mother's face when she realized her social climbing hadn't been necessary after all. He arrived home earlier than usual, planning to surprise Adriana with the news. Their recent distance weighed on him, but surely this success would bridge the gap. The house was quiet as he approached, but he heard voices from the kitchen. His mother's distinctive tone, Adriana's breathless laughter. Robert moved quietly through the house, a habit from years of trying not to track construction site mud on the floors. As he neared the kitchen, the voices became clearer. "Really, Adriana?" Patricia's voice dripped with venom. "I don't know how you stand it. My son's pathetic dad bod must disgust you in bed. That fitness model I connected you with? Now there's a man with a body that makes women scream with pleasure." Robert froze, the contract papers suddenly heavy in his hands. "God, yes," Adriana's voice was thick with satisfaction. "Xavier made me see stars all night." The contract slipped from Robert's grip, papers scattering across the floor. The sound shattered the moment, and silence fell in the kitchen. He stood in the doorway, taking in the scene. His mother and wife sat at the kitchen island, wine glasses half empty between them. Patricia's face showed no shame, only annoyance at being interrupted. Adriana's expression shifted from shock to guilt to defiance. "Robert," Adriana started. "I can explain." "Don't bother." His voice was deadly quiet. "Really, darling," Patricia interjected. "You can't blame her. You've let yourself go so badly. What successful woman would want?" "Shut up." The words cut through the air like a blade. "You orchestrated this. All of it." "I merely introduced them," Patricia sniffed. If Adriana found Xavier more suitable, Robert turned without another word. leaving the scattered contract papers on the floor. Behind him, he heard Adriana call his name, heard his mother's sharp comments about dramatic exits. He walked out of the house, out of their lives, leaving behind his phone, his wallet, everything that connected him to the life they'd tried to shape for him. What he didn't know was that Michael had followed him home, planning to celebrate the contract win. His friends stood in the shadows of the front yard, having heard everything. This witness to his humiliation would later prove crucial, but for now, Robert walked away from everything he'd built, everything he'd been. The construction site manager disappeared into Seattle's gathering dark, leaving behind the foundations of glass that had finally shattered under the weight of betrayal. His mother's last words followed him into the night. Just like your father, walking away when things get difficult. But Robert wasn't walking away. He was walking towards something else entirely, a transformation that would make them regret ever questioning his strength. The shattered pieces of his life would become the foundation of something far more formidable than Patricia Thorne could have imagined. As he walked away from his old life, Robert made a silent vow. They thought they'd broken him. They thought they'd won. They were wrong. Dead wrong. Chapter 4. Reinvention. The first month on Seattle streets stripped away Robert's remaining illusions. He'd taken nothing from his old life. No phone, no wallet, no identity. The construction skills that had built his career now kept him alive through cash jobs at small sites where no one asked questions. A particularly rough night found him huddled in the doorway of a weathered brick building, his body aching from a day of unauthorized demolition work. The door yanked open, and Robert found himself staring up at a mountain of a man. "You picked the wrong doorway, friend." The man's voice matched his imposing frame, deep and gravelly. Robert stood, his muscles protesting. He'd learned to size up potential threats quickly in the past weeks. This man was dangerous, military bearing in his stance, scarred knuckles, eyes that missed nothing. "No trouble," Robert said, gathering his meager possessions. "I'm leaving." "Wait." The man blocked his path. "You've been watching my gym all week, casing the place, figuring out if you needed any maintenance work," Robert corrected, nodding toward a loose brick in the facade. "Your building's showing stress fractures. Foundations probably shifting." The man's eyes narrowed. "You know construction?" 15 years experience. "Site manager before?" Robert's jaw tightened. "Before what?" "Before I learned family can kill you without touching you." Mason Crawford, owner of Crawford's Gym, studied the man before him. He recognized the look. He'd seen it in special forces operators who'd lost their units, in fighters who'd been betrayed by their corners. "Got a name?" "Not anymore." Mason nodded slowly. "Building does need work. Got a proposition for you. You fix my gym, I'll give you a job maintaining the equipment, plus a cot in the back room and gym access after hours." Robert's eyes tracked to the heavy bags visible through the glass doors. "Why?" "Because you're not dead inside yet," Mason replied. "Just buried. I'm good at digging things up." That night, Robert slept on a narrow cot in the gym's storage room. The space smelled of leather and steel, sweat and determination. He lay awake, his mother's voice echoing in his head. Pathetic dad bod. At 4 a.m., Mason found him attacking a heavy bag with raw, untrained fury. "You're doing it wrong," Mason said, catching the bag. "That's how you break your hands, not how you break your enemies." Robert stopped, breathing hard. "I don't need fighting lessons." "No? Then why are your knuckles bleeding?" Mason tossed him hand wraps. "First lesson, protect your weapons. You want revenge? Fine, but do it smart. Do it right." "Who said anything about revenge?" "Your eyes did. Same look I had after Fallujah." Mason squared up to the bag. "Watch. Learn. Building strength isn't just about muscles. It's about turning pain into power." The next weeks fell into a brutal rhythm. Robert worked on the gym's repairs during the day, learning the equipment maintenance in between. At night, Mason taught him more than just boxing. Military contractors need more than muscle, Mason explained during one session. Need to think tactical, strategic, patient. Robert absorbed everything: proper striking technique, breathing control, strategic thinking. His body began to change, soft edges hardening into lean muscle. Dr. Rachel Sullivan, a a regular at the gym, noticed the new maintenance man's intensity during her morning workouts. "Your form's improving," she commented one day, "but your shoulders are carrying trauma." Robert ignored her, focusing on his set. "I'm a sports psychologist," she continued. "Trade you some sessions for help renovating my practice? Place needs work." "I don't need therapy." Rachel racked her weights. "No? Then why do you destroy yourself on that bag at 3 a.m.? "I can hear it from my apartment upstairs." Robert's grip tightened on the barbell. "You don't know what you're talking about. I know unprocessed trauma when I see it. And I know my practice needs a new support beam before the ceiling caves in." She handed him her card. "Ball's in your court." That night, Mason found Robert studying the structural issues in Rachel's practice space. "Smart woman, that doc," Mason commented. "Knows damaged goods when she sees them." "I'm not damaged," Robert growled. "I'm awake." "Same thing, sometimes." Mason picked up a sledgehammer. "Tearing down walls in her office won't fix the ones in your head. But it's a start." The renovation work gave Robert focus. Rachel's observations during their sessions, tactical but precise, helped him channel his rage. "Anger isn't weakness," she noted during one session. "But uncontrolled anger is like a grenade without a pin. Destroys the thrower first." Robert's response was to increase his training intensity. Mason matched him rep for rep, pushing him past his limits. "Your mother used your father's memory as a weapon," Mason said during one particularly brutal session. "Time to forge yourself into something she never saw coming." The old Robert died in that gym, burned away by sweat and determination. In his place, something harder emerged. A man who understood that true strength wasn't in the muscles Mason helped him build, but in the ruthless patience Rachel taught him to cultivate. 3 months after arriving at Crawford's gym, Robert stood before the mirror in the locker room. His reflection showed someone his mother wouldn't recognize: lean, hard, dangerous. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. "Ready for phase 2? Mason asked from the doorway. Robert's eyes met his mentor's in the mirror. "What's phase 2? "Learning to fight smart. Not just with these." Mason held up his fists. "But with this." He tapped his temple. "Time to meet some friends of mine." The old Robert would have asked questions. The new one simply nodded. The forge was hot, and he was far from finished. Chapter 5. The Phoenix Project. Diana Martinez first noticed the new guy at Crawford's during her morning workouts. Something about his movements caught her investigator's eye, too controlled for a typical gym rat, too focused for a casual trainer. "Ex-military?" she asked Mason one morning. "Different kind of war," Mason replied, watching Robert demolish a heavy bag. "Why? Professional interest?" Diana's reputation as Seattle's most discreet private investigator was well known in certain circles. "Maybe. He moves like someone who's rebuilding himself. I see it in witnesses who've survived trauma." "Talk to him," Mason suggested. "He needs your kind of expertise." Diana approached Robert during his cool down. "Your form's good, but your situational awareness needs work. You didn't clock me watching you for the past week." Robert's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "Someone who finds things. People. Truth." She handed him her card. "Diana Martinez. Private investigator. Not interested." "No? Then why do you check social media updates about your wife and mother on the public computer at the library 3 blocks from here?" Robert's hand crushed her card. "You've been following me, teaching you a lesson about situational awareness." Diana's smile held no warmth. "Want to learn how to do it right?" Before Robert could respond, a new voice joined them. "She's good, man. Found dirt on my ex-wife's lawyer that saved my house." The speaker was Caleb Foster, a heavily muscled man with haunted eyes. "Sorry, couldn't help overhearing. I'm the gym's resident tech guy. PTSD and coding are my specialties. I don't need investigators or hackers," Robert stated flatly. "No?" Diana raised an eyebrow. "Then you don't want to know about the photos your mother's been posting? The ones making you look like a deadbeat who abandoned his wife?" Robert's face hardened. "What photos?" "Meet me at the Black Mug tomorrow at 10. I'll show you what your mother's been up to." Diana turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and you might want to talk to Thomas Wong. He's our resident legal expert. Because technically, you're not dead. Yet." The next morning at the Black Mug, Diana laid out surveillance photos showing Patricia Thorne's campaign of manipulation. She's been busy, Diana explained. Edited photos making you look slovenly, coincidental meetings arranged between your wife and her photographer friend. All carefully documented on social media to paint you as the villain. Robert's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. How did you get these? I'm good at my job, but Caleb's better at the digital stuff. He found some interesting email threads between your mother and Xavier Sterling going back months before you left. Show me. Diana pulled out her tablet. Caleb set up secure access. But before you see this, you need to talk to Thomas. Because what we found, it's enough to bury your mother. But we need to make it legal. Thomas Wong worked out of a small legal aid office near the courthouse. The attorney's lean frame and wire-rimmed glasses gave no hint of the fighter's physique beneath his suit. Interesting case, Thomas mused, reviewing Diana's findings. Your mother's actions could constitute intentional infliction of emotional distress. But to pursue it, you'd need to resurface. Not an option, Robert growled. There are alternatives. Thomas leaned forward. We could create a new identity. Legal, but untraceable. I have experience with domestic abuse cases. This qualifies. I'm not a victim. No, Thomas agreed. You're a survivor. And survivors need proper armor before they go to war. The team assembled regularly at Crawford's after hours. Diana brought surveillance updates, Caleb monitored digital trails, and Thomas worked on Robert's new identity. Your mother's getting sloppy, Diana reported one night. She's been using your disappearance to solicit sympathy funds from your old social circle. Classic affinity fraud. Meanwhile, Caleb added, your wife's real estate business is booming. Those provocative property photos with Xavier? They're all over social media. Your mother makes sure to comment on each one. Robert absorbed the information with dangerous calm. The raw fury of his early days had been replaced by something colder, more focused. The transformation continued. Diana taught him surveillance techniques, how to gather intelligence without being spotted. Caleb showed him the digital world's dark corners, where information became power. Knowledge is ammunition, Diana explained during one lesson. But timing the shot, that's the real art. Then Jennifer Hayes entered the picture. Diana spotted her first, watching the gym from across the street. She's been there 3 days straight, Diana reported. Former assistant to your wife. Quit the agency 2 months after you left. Want me to run a background? No need, Robert replied. She tried to warn me. I didn't listen. She's gathered evidence, Diana revealed. Emails, texts, surveillance footage. She's been documenting your mother's manipulation for months. But she doesn't know where to send it. Let her keep it, Robert decided. It's not time yet. The team respected his patience, even as they monitored his targets. Patricia Thorne continued her social climbing, using her son's abandonment to gain sympathy. Adriana's star rose in the real estate world, her connection to Xavier Sterling now public knowledge. Your mother's hosting a charity gala next month, Diana reported. Using your disappearance to raise funds for abandoned spouses. Pure manipulation for social status. Robert's response was to train harder. Mason watched his protégé's evolution with grim satisfaction. You're almost ready, Mason observed one night. Question is, ready for what? For them to learn that what doesn't kill you. Robert's voice carried the weight of steel. Better finish the job. The Phoenix Project, as Caleb dubbed their operation, gathered momentum. Each team member contributed their expertise, forging Robert into something his enemies wouldn't recognize. Diana's network provided intelligence. Caleb's technical skills built digital fortresses. Thomas created legal armor. And Mason? Mason kept pushing, kept forging, kept sharpening the weapon Robert had become. They didn't know it yet, but their work would soon be tested in ways none of them expected. Chapter 6. The Unexpected Turn. 4 years into Robert's new life, the team gathered for their weekly meeting at Crawford's. Diana's face carried news she clearly didn't want to deliver. Adriana's sick, she stated without preamble. Stage 4 breast cancer. Prognosis isn't good. Robert continued his pull-ups, his expression unchanged. And your mother's using it, Caleb added, spinning his laptop around. Look at these social media posts. She's playing the grieving mother-in-law, using your absence to gather sympathy donations. Meanwhile, Diana continued, Xavier Sterling's moved on. New wealthy client, younger, more connections. Left Adriana high and dry. Robert dropped from the pull-up bar, his movements controlled despite the news. Location? Xavier's in Los Angeles, Diana replied. Your mother's running her charity scam from your old social circle. And Adriana. She hesitated. She's in Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. Starting aggressive treatment next week. Mason watched his protege carefully. What's the play? Nothing, Robert replied, wrapping his hands for a bag session. Let them reap what they've sown. But that night, alone in his apartment above the gym, Robert accessed the secure server where Caleb stored their intelligence. Photos of Adriana showed the cancer's toll, her model-perfect features gaunt, her confident stance diminished. A knock at his door revealed Rachel Sullivan. Heard the news, she said simply. Want to talk about it? Nothing to talk about. Rachel leaned against the doorframe. No? Then why are you studying her medical files at 2 a.m.? Robert closed his laptop. How did you? Caleb monitors access to the server. He's worried about you. We all are. I'm fine. Sure. Rachel agreed easily. That's why you've doubled your training time since Diana brought the news. Because you're fine. Robert's jaw tightened. What do you want me to say? That I care? I don't. Then why are you helping Michael's son with his architectural school applications? The question hit harder than any punch. Over the past year, Robert had been anonymously guiding Michael's son Tyler through the architecture program admission process, using his experience to help the boy pursue his dreams. That's different, Robert growled. Tyler's innocent, and helping him maintains your humanity, Rachel observed. Something to consider while you're processing this news about Adriana. Before Robert could respond, his phone buzzed, a secure line only the team used. Diana's message was brief. Meeting, now. Important. The team assembled in Mason's office. Diana looked troubled. Jennifer Hayes made contact, she reported. She's been compiling evidence against your mother for years. Emails, texts, surveillance footage. Everything showing how Patricia manipulated both you and Adriana. She came to the gym looking for you, Mason added. Said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Caleb pulled up files on his laptop. Her evidence is solid. Shows your mother's whole campaign. The edited photos, the orchestrated meetings with Xavier, everything. What's her angle? Robert demanded. Redemption, Diana replied. She believes she failed you by not warning you more directly. She's been gathering evidence ever since, waiting for a chance to make it right. Thomas reviewed the files. This is dynamite. Combined with what we already have, we could destroy your mother's reputation, expose her charity fraud, everything. Why now? Robert's voice carried an edge of suspicion. Because of Adriana's diagnosis, Diana explained. Jennifer thinks you have the right to know the whole truth before. She trailed off. Robert stood, his decision made. No moves yet. We watch. We wait. The team exchanged glances but nodded. They learned to trust his judgment. Later that week, Mason found Robert in the gym at midnight, his hands raw from the heavy back. You're slipping, Mason observed. Letting emotion affect your form. I'm fine. Sure. Mason picked up focus mitts. That's why you're bleeding on my equipment. Come on. Show me that combination we worked on. As they worked, Mason spoke between punches. You know what real strength is? Robert threw a particularly vicious hook. Enlighten me. Not letting bastards change who you are. Mason blocked across. Power isn't about hurting others. It's about remaining yourself despite the pain they inflicted. Robert dropped his hands. That's weakness. No, Mason caught his eye. Weakness is letting them turn you into something you're not. Strength? He pointed to the architectural drawings on Robert's desk. Strength is building something new from the ruins. The conversation was interrupted by Diana's arrival. We've got movement. Your mother's organizing a fundraiser, using Adriana's condition to collect medical support donations. Robert's face hardened. How much has she raised? Over 50,000, Diana reported. But our investigation shows most of it's going to her personal accounts, Meanwhile, Caleb added, entering with his laptop, Jennifer Hayes sent more evidence. Your mother didn't just manipulate Adriana into the affair. She actively orchestrated photo opportunities, leaked them to your old social circle, all while building her own social status as the concerned mother trying to save her son's marriage. Robert absorbed the information with deadly calm. The past 4 years had transformed him from a betrayed husband into something far more dangerous, a man who understood that patience was the deadliest weapon of all. Tyler's architectural school application got accepted, he said suddenly. The team exchanged confused looks at this apparent non sequitur. Michael's son? Diana clarified. What does that have to do with everything? Robert cut her off. I've been helping him anonymously, making sure he has the chances I lost. Because that's what this is really about, building something better from the destruction they caused. Mason nodded slowly, understanding dawning. So what's the play? We wait, Robert decided. Let my mother dig her grave deeper with these fraudulent fundraisers. Let her think she's won. The evidence isn't going anywhere. And Adriana? Rachel asked from the doorway, having arrived in time to hear his decision. She made her choices. Robert's voice carried no emotion. Now she faces them alone. The team watched their friend, this man they'd helped forge from betrayal's ashes. He'd arrived at Crawford's gym broken, but what emerged wasn't just stronger. He was strategic, patient, ruthless in his planning. For years, Robert mused, looking at the evidence they'd gathered. 4 years of building, training, preparing. My mother thinks she destroyed me. She has no idea what she actually created. Diana's phone buzzed with a new alert. Speaking of your mother, she's scheduled another charity event, using your disappearance and Adriana's condition to position herself as a champion for abandoned spouses dealing with illness. Perfect. Robert's smile held no warmth. Let her build her house of cards higher. When it falls, the crash will be spectacular. As the team dispersed, Mason remained behind. You're ready, he observed. Question is, ready for what? Robert looked at his mentor, the man who'd helped forge him into something new. Ready to show them that some fires don't destroy, they transform. And what rises from these ashes? His laugh was cold. They're not going to see it coming. The gym fell quiet, but the machinery of revenge continued turning. Diana gathered intelligence, Caleb monitored digital trails, and Thomas prepared legal frameworks. Like a master architect, Robert had spent 4 years designing the perfect structure, not of steel and concrete, but of justice and retribution. His mother thought she'd broken him. His wife thought she'd betrayed him. They were about to learn that what doesn't kill you better finish the job, because what survives comes back stronger, harder, and infinitely more dangerous. Chapter 7. Convergence. 5 years transformed Robert into someone his enemies wouldn't recognize. His new construction consultation firm, Phoenix Development, had become Seattle's rising star in architectural innovation. The lean muscle he'd built at Crawford's gym now filled out his tailored suits with lethal elegance. The community center project is ready for groundbreaking, Diana reported during their morning briefing at his office. But there's a complication. Robert studied the blueprints spread across his desk. What kind of complication? The site. It's 3 blocks from your old house. Diana's face showed concern. Your mother still lives in the area. Perfect. Robert's smile carried predatory satisfaction. Let's proceed. The community center project attracted media attention. Local papers praised the innovative design, the focus on sustainability. None recognized the architect and developer as the man who'd vanished 5 years ago. Diana's network kept tabs on Patricia Thorne's reaction. She's been attending project meetings, trying to get involved. Claims she's interested in community support for her charity work. Robert's laugh held no humor. How much has she embezzled from those charity funds now? Over $200,000, Caleb reported, pulling up financial records. All while using Adriana's cancer diagnosis to guilt more donations from your old social circle. The team had moved operations from Crawford's gym to Phoenix Development's offices. Mason still ran combat training in the private gym Robert had built in the basement. Rachel Sullivan maintained her practice next door, providing cover for team meetings. Rebecca's back in town, Diana added carefully. She's been asking questions about you. Robert's sister's return wasn't unexpected. He'd monitored her movements through Diana's network, watched her rebuild her life after her divorce. Bring her in, he decided. It's time. The meeting with Rebecca was set at Phoenix Development after hours. She entered the office suite, taking in the sophisticated space. Impressive, she commented to Diana. Your boss must be. She stopped as Robert stepped into view. Hello, Bex. Rebecca's hand flew to her mouth. Rob? My God. Not Rob anymore, he corrected. Robert Phoenix now. 5 years, she whispered. I've been looking. I know. His voice softened fractionally. You needed to handle your divorce. I needed to handle my destruction. Mom, she's been using my disappearance and Adriana's cancer to build her social status? Robert's tone hardened. I know that too. Rebecca's eyes widened at his transformation. Gone was her formerly gentle brother. This man radiated controlled power. I should have been there, she said. When it happened. When Mom. You're here now, he cut her off. Question is, are you ready to help make things right? Rebecca straightened. What do you need? Your position in her social circle. Your access to her charity events. His smile was razor-sharp. Time to show our mother what real manipulation looks like. The reunion was interrupted by Diana's urgent entrance. We've got movement. Adriana's been asking questions at Crawford's gym. She tracked me there. Robert's expression didn't change. Let her come. She's dying, Rob. Rebecca interjected. The cancer is not my concern. His voice could have frozen fire. She made her choice 5 years ago. Boss, Diana pressed. She's already here. Downstairs. Robert straightened his tie with lethal precision. Perfect. Rebecca, would you like to see what your brothers become? The elevator ride to the lobby was silent. Adriana stood near the reception desk, her designer outfit hanging loose on her cancer-ravaged frame. Hello, stranger, she managed, her voice weak. Robert studied her with clinical detachment. You're trespassing. I had to see. She swayed slightly. Had to tell you that my mother manipulated you? His laugh was cold. Save your confession. I've known for years. Adriana's face crumpled. Then why didn't you come back? Save you? He stepped closer, voice dropping. Because you were weak enough to let her destroy us. That makes you as guilty as her. Robert, Rebecca protested, but Diana held her back. The photos with Xavier, Adriana pressed on. Your mother arranged them, pushed me to spread your legs for a fitness model? Robert's words cut like knives. Don't insult us both with excuses. Tears streaked Adriana's hollow cheeks. I'm dying. We all are, he replied dispassionately. Some of us just take longer than others. The elevators dinged, and Mason emerged. Boss, the community center contractors are waiting upstairs. Robert turned away from his former wife. Show Mrs. Thorne out. She was just leaving. Robert, please. Adriana's plea echoed in the lobby. He stopped but didn't turn. Goodbye, Adriana. I trust you can find your way back to my mother's sympathy parade. As Mason escorted Adriana out, Rebecca grabbed Robert's arm. That was cruel. No, he corrected. That was mercy. Wait until you see what I have planned for our mother. Diana's phone buzzed. Jennifer Hayes is here. She's brought the evidence. Robert's smile would have made sharks flee. Perfect. Time for Act 2. Chapter 8. Truth and Consequences. Jennifer Hayes clutched her evidence files like armor as she entered Phoenix Development's conference room. 5 years of documented manipulation spread across the polished table. Mrs. Thorne was thorough, Jennifer explained, pulling up emails. She started undermining you months before introducing Xavier. Edited photos, staged encounters, all carefully orchestrated. Robert studied the evidence with cold focus. Show me. The emails revealed Patricia's calculated destruction. Messages to Xavier arranging accidental meetings with Adriana. Social media posts timed for maximum damage. Financial records of payments for compromising photos. She pushed Adriana to take more provocative shots with Xavier. Jennifer continued. Said it would make you fight for your marriage. But she was sharing them with potential clients, building Adriana's dependency on her connections. Diana added her own files. We've traced the charity fraud. Patricia's been using Adriana's cancer diagnosis to solicit donations, but only 10% goes to actual medical care. The rest funds her social climbing. The photos were her masterpiece, Caleb noted, pulling up social media archives. She'd edit your old pictures to look worse, post them alongside Xavier's fitness shots. Classic psychological warfare. Thomas Wong entered with legal documents. We've compiled everything. The manipulation, the fraud, the defamation. It's enough to destroy her legally and socially. Robert absorbed the evidence with predatory satisfaction. Timing. She's hosting a major fundraiser next week, Diana reported, using Adriana's condition to attract wealthy donors. Society pages are already promoting it. Perfect. Robert turned to Jennifer. Why now? Why bring this forward after 5 years? Jennifer met his gaze steadily. Because I was a coward then. I saw her destroying you both, but I stayed quiet. I won't make that mistake again. A knock interrupted them. Mason entered with Rebecca. Your sister's got updates from the charitable giving circuit. Rebecca's face showed disgust. Mom's really outdone herself. She's presenting herself as the grieving mother-in-law, nursing her dying daughter-in-law while searching for her troubled son. The donations are pouring in. She's built quite a house of cards, Robert mused. Time to knock it down. The team spread out to implement their plan. Diana's investigators documented the fraud. Caleb traced the money trails. Thomas prepared legal proceedings. 2 days before Patricia's fundraiser, Adriana requested another meeting. Let her in, Robert instructed when she arrived at his office. This should be interesting. Adriana's deterioration was visible in the week since their last encounter. She clutched a manila envelope. I found these, she began without preamble. In your mother's study. The envelope contained photos. Not the edited versions Patricia had shared, but the originals. Robert looking strong, confident, successful. Alongside them, documentation of Patricia's systematic campaign to destroy his marriage. She kept trophies, Adriana explained, voice weak. Everything she did to break us apart. Said it was for my own good, that I deserved better than... She trailed off, coughing. Then a man who loved you honestly? Robert's voice could have cut glass. A man who built his success instead of inheriting it. I was wrong, Adriana whispered. So wrong. But Patricia, she played on everything. My insecurities about our different backgrounds, my fears about your ambitions, and you were weak enough to let her, he finished. That's why you don't deserve forgiveness. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she replied. I'm asking for justice. Use these. Destroy her. Robert studied his dying wife. Why now? Because I have 2 weeks left to live, she met his eyes. And I want Patricia to pay for what she did to us before I go. He took the envelope. Goodbye, Adriana. She turned to leave, then stopped. You've become everything she feared. Strong, ruthless, unstoppable. No, he corrected. I've become everything she deserves. After she left, the team reviewed her evidence. This is the missing piece, Thomas declared. With this, we can prove premeditation in her fraud scheme. Your mother's fundraiser is tomorrow night, Diana reminded them. All of Seattle's elite will be there. Robert straightened his tie. Then let's give them a night to remember. Chapter 9. The Final Wait. Patricia Thorne's charity fundraiser transformed the Seattle Art Museum into a monument to her social ambitions. Society's elite mingled, checkbooks ready, drawn by the tragic tale of the grieving mother-in-law caring for her dying daughter-in-law while searching for her lost son. Targets working the room, Diana reported through Robert's earpiece. She's already collected over $50,000 in donations tonight. Robert adjusted his cufflinks at the service entrance. Caleb. Screens are ready, the tech expert confirmed. One signal and everything goes live. Social media, email blasts, video evidence. Thomas waited with legal documents. Process servers are in position. The moment the evidence drops, we move. Rebecca approached in an evening gown. Mom's about to give her speech. She's got slides prepared. More edited photos, more manipulation. Perfect. Robert's smile was lethal. Let her dig the hole deeper. Patricia Thorne took the stage, the picture of grieving dignity in designer black. Friends, generous supporters, she began. We gather tonight to support a cause close to my heart. My beloved daughter-in-law fights cancer alone because my troubled son abandoned her. But through your generosity, the museum screens flickered. Patricia faltered as her private emails replaced her presentation slides. Messages organizing Xavier's chanced meetings with Adriana. Financial records showing diverted donation funds. Surveillance photos of her orchestrated destruction of her son's marriage. What Patricia stumbled, but the evidence continued. Original photos versus her edited versions. Bank statements showing embezzled charity funds. Video clips of her boasting about manipulating Adriana. The crowd murmured as years of manipulation unfolded across the screens. Security. Patricia called, but uniformed officers entered instead. Patricia Thorne, the lead officer, announced, "You're under arrest for charity fraud and embezzlement." This is ridiculous. I'm helping my dying daughter-in-law. By stealing her medical fundraising money? Robert's voice cut through the chaos as he emerged from the crowd. Try again, mother. Patricia's face went white. Robert. He approached the stage with predatory grace, the crowd parting before him. Gone was the soft construction manager she'd belittled. This man radiated power. Surprised? He smiled without warmth. Disappointed I'm not the failure you tried to create? I was trying to help. By destroying my marriage? Stealing from cancer patients? Manipulating everyone around you? Michael Reeves stepped forward from the crowd. I witnessed it, he announced clearly. The night she orchestrated his departure. I heard her gloating about destroying her own son's marriage. Jennifer Hayes emerged next, holding documents. I have 5 years of evidence showing her systematic manipulation and fraud. This is absurd, Patricia sputtered. These people are lying. Like you lied to my wife? Robert's voice could have frozen hell. Like you lied to your social circle? To the IRS about your charity funds? Thomas Wong approached with more officers. Mrs. Thorne, my firm represents the victims of your charity fraud. We have documented evidence of over $200,000 in embezzled donations. Patricia's careful mask cracked. Robert, darling, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. He reached the stage. You couldn't stand that I succeeded differently than Dad. That I built something real instead of playing social games. So you destroyed everything I built. I made you stronger. No, he cut her off. You made me ruthless. Congratulations. As the officers led Patricia away, her carefully crafted world crumbled. Her social circle watched in horror as their charitable donations were revealed as fuel for her manipulations. Later that night, the team gathered at Phoenix Development's offices. Adriana passed an hour ago, Diana reported quietly. She signed a full confession first, documenting your mother's manipulation. Robert nodded, unmoved. In the community center? Construction starts tomorrow, Mason confirmed. Crawford's gym is ready for renovation into the youth program space. Rachel's already got a waiting list for the counseling center, Diana added. And Jennifer's support group for families dealing with toxic relationships is fully subscribed. Rebecca approached her brother. Mom's asking to see you. No. Robert's voice was final. She can send her monthly letters begging forgiveness. They'll go straight to the shredder, just like her manipulation went straight to prison. The prodigal son returns triumphant, Mason observed. No, Robert corrected. The son she tried to destroy returns unstoppable. There's a difference. Weeks later, Robert stood in the completed community center, watching troubled youth learn construction skills in the workshop he designed. You did it, Rachel noted, joining him. Built something stronger from the ruins. Built something better, he corrected, watching Michael's son lead an architectural design class. The weight of silence he'd carried was gone, replaced by the solid weight of real achievement. Patricia's monthly letters arrived like clockwork, each one returned unopened. Her social destruction was complete. Her circle shattered, her reputation ruined, her manipulation exposed. But Robert's victory wasn't in her destruction. It was in the laughter of kids learning trades in his center, in the healing happening in Rachel's counseling rooms, in the strength being forged in the renovated Crawford's gym. Jennifer Hayes ran her support group in what used to be Patricia's social club, turning a place of manipulation into one of healing. And in the architecture studio upstairs, Michael's son guided students through their first designs, proving that the best revenge isn't just living well, it's building something unstoppable from the ashes of betrayal. Epilogue. 10 years later, Phoenix Development had become Seattle's premier architectural firm, its gleaming headquarters rising 40 stories above the city streets. Inside his top-floor office, Robert Phoenix reviewed the latest community center expansion plans. The London branch wants to replicate our youth program model, Diana Martinez reported, now Phoenix Development's head of strategic operations. Her investigative skills had proven invaluable in vetting international partnerships. They're particularly interested in the trade school integration. Robert studied the proposals with the same ruthless attention to detail that had marked his transformation. At 47, his physique remained lethal. Daily training sessions at Crawford's gym had become a non-negotiable part of his routine. Send Mason to oversee the program implementation, he decided. He understands the core philosophy better than anyone. Mason Crawford had expanded his operation into an international chain of community-focused gyms. Each location partnered with Phoenix Development's youth centers, creating safe spaces where troubled kids could rebuild themselves just as Robert had. Mason's working with the Singapore location this month, Diana reminded him. But Rachel's available. Her trauma recovery program has shown impressive results in our European centers. Dr. Rachel Sullivan's innovative approach to psychological healing had become a cornerstone of their international operations. She developed specialized programs for kids from broken homes, earning worldwide recognition in trauma recovery. Your mother's latest letter arrived, Diana added carefully, placing a familiar envelope on his desk. 10 years of monthly letters, each returned unopened. Patricia Thorne had served 6 years for charity fraud before being released. She lived alone in a small apartment, her social circle destroyed, her reputation in ruins. Shredder, Robert commanded without looking at it. A decade hadn't softened his stance on betrayal. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Phoenix? Tyler Reeves is here with the architectural team. Michael's son had grown from a promising student into Phoenix Development's youngest project director. Under Robert's mentorship, he'd revolutionized their approach to sustainable community spaces. Send them in, Robert instructed, standing to greet them. Tyler entered with his team, spreading blueprints across the conference table. We've incorporated the trauma-informed design principles Dr. Sullivan recommended. The new centers will have dedicated spaces for both physical and emotional reconstruction. Robert studied the designs with approval. The architectural language spoke of strength and transformation, themes that had defined his own journey. Michael would be proud, he told Tyler quietly. Michael Reeves had passed away 2 years earlier, but his legacy lived on. His testimony had been crucial in Patricia's conviction, and his unwavering loyalty had helped shape Phoenix Development's core values. The meeting was interrupted by Rebecca's arrival. His sister had become the foundation's executive director, overseeing their charitable operations with the same determination that had once made her their family's peacekeeper. The numbers are in from the support networks, she announced. Jennifer's program has expanded to 50 cities. The success rates are unprecedented. Jennifer Hayes had transformed her guilt into purpose. Her support groups for families dealing with toxic relationships had grown into an international network. The woman who had once feared speaking up now trained others to recognize and resist manipulation. Caleb's team identified 3 more potential locations for youth centers, Rebecca continued. They're analyzing demographic data to optimize placement. Caleb Foster's cybersecurity expertise had evolved into a sophisticated data analytics operation. His algorithms helped identify communities most in need of Phoenix Development's intervention, while his security protocols protected their operations from those who might exploit them. Thomas wants to expand the legal aid clinics, she added. He's got pro bono commitments from major firms in each new location. Thomas Wong's legal network had become a powerful force for justice. The attorney who had helped forge Robert's new identity now helped countless others escape toxic situations and rebuild their lives. What about the old house? Rebecca asked carefully. Mom's been asking about it again. The Thorne family home, where everything had shattered, now stood transformed. Robert had purchased it through shell companies and converted it into the first of their specialized shelters for people escaping manipulative relationships. The house stays as it is. Robert's tone brooked no argument. Let her live with what she built. Diana's tablet chimed with updates. Crawford's Gym Singapore is online for the daily briefing. Mason's got updates on the Asia-Pacific expansion. The massive screen on Robert's office wall flickered to life, showing Mason's familiar face. A decade hadn't softened the former military contractor, but his gruff exterior now hid a deep commitment to their mission of transformation. Youth programs exceeding expectations, Mason reported. Got 3 kids already moved from street fighting to competitive boxing. Remind you of anyone? Robert's lips twitched. The Singapore location story paralleled his own transformation in many ways. Rachel's trauma recovery protocols are making a difference, Mason continued. These kids aren't just getting stronger. They're getting smarter about who to trust. Trust remained a complex issue for Robert. His inner circle had expanded, but remained carefully vetted. The betrayals that had forged him still influenced his approach to relationships. The London facility sent their final requirements, Diana noted, forwarding documents to the team. They want to understand how we maintain security while remaining accessible to at-risk youth. Send them footage from the Seattle original, Robert decided. Show them how we balance protection with purpose. The original community center had become a model for their international operations. The building where Robert had begun his revenge now served as a blueprint for transformation worldwide. After the briefings, Robert headed to his private gym. The space mirrored the one where Mason had first taught him to channel pain into power. Daily training remained his anchor, a reminder of the strength he'd forged from betrayal. Rebecca found him there later, attacking the heavy bag with, "Got a message from Adriana's parents," she said quietly. Robert didn't break his rhythm. "And they want to donate their estate to the foundation. Say it's what Adriana would have wanted." His combination finished with a devastating cross. Motivation? Guilt? Probably. They've seen what we've built, how many lives we're changing. They want to be part of it. Robert toweled off, considering. Have Thomas review the offer. If it's clean, we'll use it to fund scholarships for kids from manipulative homes. A decade had tempered his rage into something more focused, more strategic. The man who had walked away from his old life now built new possibilities for others seeking escape. Later that evening, Robert stood in the original Crawford's gym, now integrated into their flagship community center. The space where he'd rebuilt himself had become a crucible for similar transformations. The heavy bag where he'd first learned to channel his pain still hung in the corner, now used by troubled youth learning the same lessons. The office where Mason had outlined the Phoenix Project had become a counseling space where Rachel helped others face their demons. Full circle, Mason observed, joining him. The older man had flown in from Singapore specifically for tonight's event. More like a spiral, Robert corrected, always moving upward. The gym had filled with people gathering for the 10th anniversary of Phoenix Development's community program. Jennifer Hayes stood with her support group leaders, while Thomas Wong discussed expansion plans with international partners. Diana approached with her tablet. Patricia's trying to make a donation to the foundation. Through intermediaries. Rejected, Robert commanded. Some debts can't be paid with money. The decades since his revenge had proven him right. True strength wasn't in destroying his enemies, but in building something unprecedented from the ruins they'd left. Tyler Reeves took the podium to present the next phase of their international expansion. The architectural renderings showed facilities that combined physical training, educational opportunities, and psychological support, all growing from the seeds of one man's transformation. "Your father would be proud," Robert told Tyler afterward. "Not of me, of what you've built." "He was proud of both of us," Tyler replied. "Said you showed him that true strength isn't about muscle. It's about what you build after you've been broken." The evening concluded with Rachel presenting their latest impact statistics. Thousands of lives transformed, countless families healed, communities rebuilt. Later, alone in his office, Robert reviewed old files from the Phoenix Project. The evidence of Patricia's manipulation remained archived, a reminder of where it all began. Diana's final report for the day appeared on his screen. Patricia Thorne spotted at homeless shelter near Pioneer Square. still telling anyone who'll listen about her troubled son and her misunderstood attempts to help him. Robert closed the file without comment. His mother's continued attempts to rewrite history meant nothing. The empire he'd built spoke louder than her excuses. The photos of his old life, the construction site manager with dreams of architecture, the husband betrayed by his wife and mother, stayed locked in a drawer. That man had died in Mason's doorway a decade ago. In his place stood someone stronger. Someone who understood that true revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about building something so powerful that your enemies became irrelevant. Each morning, Robert still trained at Crawford's gym before dawn. Each day, he expanded their mission of transformation. And each night, he remembered Mason's words from a decade ago. Power isn't about hurting others. It's about remaining yourself despite the pain they inflicted. He'd become more than himself. He'd become a force for transformation, turning the weapons that should have destroyed him into tools for rebuilding others. The empire he'd built from betrayal's ashes now stretched across continents. But its heart remained in that first gym, where a broken man had learned that true strength comes from what you build after everything falls apart. Patricia's monthly letters kept coming, and Robert kept returning them unopened. Some debts couldn't be repaid. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven. But they could be transformed into something powerful enough to change the world. And in that transformation lay the ultimate victory, not over his enemies, but over the destruction they'd intended. They had tried to break him, but instead, they had forged him into something unstoppable. 10 years later, that unstoppable force continued to grow, build, and transform, proving that sometimes the best revenge isn't just living well, but building an empire dedicated to helping others rise from their own ashes. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.